welcome to the Courage to Rise show. I'm Katie Cianci, your host, and I'm excited to welcome our guest, Alisha Gee. She is a founder. Hi. She is the founder of We Live to Rise, and she's a health transformational coach, and she has a transformation story herself. And I'm so excited to have you here because there's, we're going to talk a lot about like body image, also about, if any of you have had abuse from the past, emotional, sexual, physical abuse, and how that affects our body image and how we take care of ourselves. And so Alicia's going to share her story and inspire you with everything. So feel free to, share a little bit about how you started We Live to Rise, like what, your story is so inspiring. So we could start there.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on. I would love to share a little bit about my story and just where it's gone from there. But I grew up in China, out of all places. And so I have a little bit different story than most, where I grew up in China. My dad was a doctor there, and it was amazing. We had the best childhood. We had so many different things to do. We were on the Great Wall of China all the time. So I went from having this amazing childhood of getting to see the world and then moving back to Colorado. And that's where things started to change for me. For me, when I was 11 to 13, I went through sexual abuse from a family member. And that's where it really started to change in my life, because I remember as the abuse started, I was so confused about what was even happening. Because I went from this childhood of having two parents in my family that loved me. I had an amazing family, to having this family member starting to do things to me that I was like, this is not okay. But it took me a long time to get there, because as it started, it was just little things that I was like, this is different than how we used to play together, and different things like that. And so when I finally started to realize that it wasn't okay, I didn't know what to do from there. I tried to tell him to stop. I tried to get it to stop. But at that point, he used a lot of different things to manipulate me, as far as saying that, that this is normal. This is what everyone does with their family member. This is what happens. And so I was like, okay. And I would start to ask around. I'm like, hey, do you do this with your family member? To some of my friends. And I always got the same response, no, that's not okay. But they would never say that, because they didn't understand that was actually happening to me, because I could never get those words out. And to be honest, when I was 11 to 13, I don't even think I knew about the words sexual abuse. Yeah. And so I didn't know how to tell people that I was struggling. So what happened was, from 11 to 13, I was somebody at school who was on the volleyball team, basketball team, happy, always smiling, always have friends around. And I would go home and feel like a completely different person. And I was so broken inside, but I didn't even know how to deal with my emotions at that time, that I would use things like cutting myself for temporary relief. I would start drinking. I would start doing stuff with other guys. And so during that time, it just really was a downward spiral. And unfortunately, when it did come out, I had my mom come to me, and she just said, Alisha, tell me your side of the story. He's come to us and told us everything. And I told my side of the story. I remember it was yesterday. I was sitting in this spirally chair, and I was could not stay still. She was asking me questions, and I was going in circles, and she's like, Alisha, this is a very serious matter. But I just didn't know how to even talk about it. And especially not from my parents, because at that time, I was hiding such a deep, deep secret that I wasn't able to be close with them, or really anyone, because everyone knew me as this fun girl, fun Alisha, always happy, confident, all that kind of stuff. And so when I was sitting in that spiral chair, she looked at me after hearing a little bit of my story, and she said, well, Alisha, it takes two. Wow. And she said that because she really, for one, looking back, she didn't know how to respond the way I needed her to respond. And for two, I, really when that happened, I just shut down even more. I was okay, all those feelings in my head for the last 2 years of being abused, thinking it was maybe my fault. Maybe I should have told someone sooner. Maybe I shouldn't have let it happen the first time. Was it my fault? Did I say something? Whatever it was really typical feelings. And a lot of people I know listening to this have had those feelings, because it's so typical to think maybe it was my fault. And it is actually really common to have the response that my mom had. Someone telling you not to tell anyone else. Don't, it takes two. It was your fault. Why did you do that? Why didn't you tell me? And so after that time period of, actually finally having someone, I felt so relieved having someone know. And then I felt even worse after, obviously, not having the response that I needed. And so that went through, high school, of me again putting on the mask that I was okay. And I still played sports. I was athletic. I did all this stuff, did all the right things. I even thought I was okay enough to go to college in the same state that my abuser was in. And so I went to college, and I really, I thought I was doing great. I was like, I did okay in school, but I when you look back, I'm like, man, no, like I partied every single night. Like that's not something that you do when you're happy. You don't drink until you forget the night when you're like happy. And so it actually happened after college when I realized that like I wasn't okay. And actually someone had come to me and said, Alisha, like, I know at that time I was working with girls who had gone through sex trafficking, and I was like, this is my passion. This is where I'm at. Like, I related to those girls and the fact that I was like, have gone through abuse, which a lot of those girls have gone through. But like, luckily for me, I felt blessed that I at least didn't get into like something even worse, like sex trafficking. And so when I was working with those girls, someone came to me and they're like, hey, like, I know you love these girls, but you have not even helped yourself. So how are you helping these girls? And I was like, I did not want to hear that. I was like, oh no, like, what do you mean? Like, I'm doing fine. I'm okay. And I was really defensive at first, but when I took a step back and I actually looked at what he was saying, I was like, wow, that is actually exactly what I needed to hear. And so that is like really with the turnaround point in my life when I like stepped back from what I was doing. I stopped working with the girls, and I was like, no, like I need to focus on me and figuring out who I even am. Because at that point, I was like, had that mask up for so long that I was like, what do I even enjoy doing? Like, what is my favorite color? Like little simple questions like that. Like I didn't even know anything about myself other than, what I had done to mask my feelings and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where it turned around for me. And then there on, I started getting into health and fitness more because, so basically what happened was like during my abuse, I used fitness as a place to go and hide and be away from my abuser. And I felt physically strong there. And so it helped me feel like mentally strong. And so when I was trying to figure out who I was like, where's like the first place I need to start figuring out who I was? And I was like, well, the gym was always the one positive thing in my life at that time. And so I was like, that's where I need to start. And so I dived deep into my own fitness is basically where the turnaround started. So.
Wow. Yeah. That's actually really, really common. It's actually a really healthy way to cope with, when you have sexual abuse or physical, any, kind of abuse that you're experiencing, because, moving the body, as right, is a big part, but it helps you feel empowered, and it just helps you build resilience. So, I mean, you intuitively knew that. And so it was good that you were in sports and all of that, to help you through it, because a lot of people end up using drugs and alcohol and other things, it's suicide attempts, all of that, because the pain is just so deep, it really affects, anyone who's experiencing that. And it sounds like you were able to use that to build resilience.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I tried all the alcohol.
Yeah.
Luckily I didn't do the drugs, but I tried all that stuff too. And obviously, like, once you look at it, you're like, man, that is such a temporary fix. And it just, built up and built up, and all of a sudden you're like, explode somehow. So yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's like, it's so common, it's one of those things that it's like, until you know what other options are out there, or even know what's going on in your body, I mean, people do that. And so like letting go of the shame of that, like letting go of all of that comes along with it.
I love that you mentioned that, because like the shame is like what keeps you in that spiral for so long. Like, yes, like the abuse like shouldn't have happened, and then but what you do afterwards is that you feel so shameful about it, you feel guilty, and you're like, well, I started cutting myself, well, I started drinking, well, I started doing drugs. And then you're just in that spiral of like, oh, well, I chose to do that to myself, and then you start feeling so shameful about it. But really, like, what it comes down to is like, that was your only way to survive at that time. And that is what you saw somewhere in your life, like knowing that alcohol numbs yourself is like, so somewhere down the line, you learn that. And so that's not, like you said, like you shouldn't be shameful about it, because that's the only way you knew how to fight for yourself, was using harmful, things like drugs and alcohol and that kind of stuff. So.
And so you said that you worked on yourself. Like, what are some of the things that you did to kind of help you, to heal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, so I took that time off, and stopped helping other people, which sounds so funny, and it sounds like selfish, like, okay, like you can still help other people, but no, like if you can't show up for yourself, you can't show up for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so the true reality is like, it's not selfish at all taking the time on yourself, and every single day you should have that time for yourself, because you're able to show up more for your family. You're able to show up more on your job. You're able to show up, for everybody else way better when you actually focus on yourself. So what I did is that I knew I needed to start in the gym. And so like for me, like I dove right in. Like I went, 5-6 days a week, went crazy in the gym. That is not for everybody. Like, cause I already had like some knowledge of the gym in the, before with sports and everything like that. Cause I always like to tell everyone, like everyone starts somewhere different, but I guaranteed you, like any kind of exercise, even if that's like a 10-minute walk outside, like 30 minutes maybe in the gym, 2 times a week, that is still somewhere you're starting. And it's an amazing time to start. And so I started with the gym, and then I started reading different books. I started getting to know who I was. I started like sitting down and journaling and, like spending awkward alone time with myself. And at first, like the first 5 minutes, I was like, get me out of here. I don't want to hang out with myself, But eventually it became
awkward, huh, at first?
Yeah, awkward. I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? Like walk around like awkwardly by myself. But eventually like it was like, oh, like I enjoy hanging out with myself. Like, oh, this is like awesome. Like I get to go do these things like by myself. I would go on hikes by myself, where everyone else would be like, why don't you invite somebody? And I'm like, no, actually I need this time to figure out and be in my own head and have those thoughts, because like you're like when you're by yourself and you're just like talking to yourself basically, is when you get to know who you are. And so I started in the gym. I would do journaling prompts. Now I go even more, like I have a daily routine. Something that's really helped me is my daily routine. Yeah. It is so important to have a plan for your day. Not that you have to get it perfect every day, because no one's perfect. And there's me some days it doesn't work out. But to have the actual plan to get through your days is so important. So one thing I do when I start off, I wake up, I drink a whole bottle of water. Seems like something really simple, but it's something that rehydrates your body. Yeah. And by rehydrating your body, you're actually less stressed out. And so just starting your day with like having water instead of like the shot of coffee that, yes, of course, wakes you up right away or whatever it is.
Different than this.
I know. I'm like, no. Oh yeah, tea's fine. Yeah, tea.
Get rid of that.
I know, right? No, exactly. No, but for a while, like I wouldn't ever drink, barely any water. Yeah. So I start with water. It's just like a simple little thing that I do. Yeah. Get rehydrated. And then I go from there, like start my journaling. And for me, that is like writing out things that I'm grateful for about myself. And that took me a long time to do. But I write 5 things that I'm grateful for about myself every single morning.
Wow. How has that shifted? How has that shifted? I mean, have you noticed major shifts?
When I first started, when I first started thinking about it, I was like, like I really need to start like getting rid of the negative talk in my head. Yeah. And every single one of us, especially like us women, tend to have that negative thought in our head, whether we know it or not. Because I still thought I was like confident, even after like the abuse. I was like, and I figured I was like, yeah, I need to know who I am. But I was like I had never struggled with like necessarily like confidence issues until I realized like every single day, like I would have like these negative thoughts like going through my brain, like, oh, my hair's not long enough. Oh, like I don't work out hard enough. Oh, I'm not smart enough to start my own company. Like I'm not, all these like negative things. And when I started thinking about it, like your subconscious is so powerful. Like you can like wake up in the morning, drive to the gym. You don't even remember how to drive, like how you got there, right? You're operating a vehicle, like and
some people on their phone, right?
Oh, and yeah, some people are talented enough to. It's not talent. I'm just kidding, but to get to the gym like without even being like a present basically. And so when you think about how powerful your subconscious mind is, like you need to start training it to start actually being positive towards you. And it sounds crazy, but you have to actually tell it every single morning what to think. And so that is why I write out the 5 things I'm grateful for about myself every morning. Mm-hmm. And how that switches, I used to just be like, I am grateful for my face. It's like generic things and just to get through it. Yeah. And so it wasn't for like probably about like 10 to 12 days when I actually started noticing like different things that I was writing. Like actually, hey, I'm grateful that I like love to serve women. I'm grateful. And I'd actually start doing things about myself, not just like generic things. And it's not like every single day, like I come up with the most amazing things, but it's so important to like just keep consistent and actually start writing those things about yourself. Because then I also started noticing, like, instead of walking around like this, like my shoulders down, I would walk around like this. I would start being more confident in who I was, because I was telling like myself like how amazing I was, instead of constantly telling myself I wasn't good enough, I wasn't smart enough. Because throughout like life, we've all heard negative things about ourselves.
Yeah.
Whether someone close to us, whether we like compared ourselves on Instagram or Facebook to somebody, we've all compared ourselves and heard that negative talk about ourselves. And so we have to continuously bring ourselves back up. And it's not like a cocky thing. It's not anything like I talk about myself every single morning.
Yeah.
It's because it's like you actually need to remind yourself how awesome you are, because you are. What we've all gone through something in life, whether it's abuse, whether it's any kind of trauma, whether it's neglect, whether like whether it's a breakup, whatever big or small issues, we've all done something in our lives or had something done to us like that has been negative and that has been really painful, and that has like brought like bad feelings, and we've been hurt. And so we need to constantly like start actually loving ourselves again and realizing that like we're actually survivors. We're not broken, we're survivors.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I love that. Yeah. We're not broken. We're all like perfect and whole just the way we are. It's just a matter of like, parts of our authentic self was in a way like taken away. We're just like, bringing it back. Like you're calling.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone has their own way, but I think of it like that. Like you're calling your true authentic self back, because a part of something for you, it wasn't authentic. It wasn't real. And you're like, no, I know it is. Like, I
no, this is still me. And I love that you brought that up, because like on the journey of starting to love yourself again, you're going to have people in your life who are like, what are you doing? Like, we like the old Alisha. We like the Alisha who likes to party and go out all the time and do all that stuff, because that's like what they're used to. Yeah. So like when you think about it, like they're like, you're changing, you're whatever, you're like, no, actually I'm just figuring out who I am again. It's not like I'm changing and being someone else and I'm not. You're actually just going back to who you were before all those painful things brought you down. And so I think that's so important what you said. It's just like you're actually just becoming who you are, like truly are again, when you start working on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's true too, because I've noticed that when I've gone on my journey, is that, there's going to be people in your life that are really like to be where they're at, like to be in that place of, whatever it is that they're used to. And it's okay. Everyone has a choice of if they want to rise above it or they want to stay where they are. And some people in my life stayed there, and that's fine. I have no judgment. It's just that I also have attracted other people into my life that are on this journey, and it's really nice. Like we get to move with the people that kind of help lift us up.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I completely agree. And you, before, like when people were like, oh, I like the old Alisha, and I'd be like, why would you like that, Alisha? Like I was so broken before. What I realized is like, yeah, they're not there yet. They're not ready for their own transformation. And why would I like hate on them? Of course, like encourage them and be like, hey, like, do you want to go to the gym with me, or encourage them to kind of do that kind of stuff with you. But ultimately, if they're not at that phase where they're ready to transform their life, like for one, you don't have to have them in your life anymore. And that sounds harsh to say, but like you don't need that negative energy in your life. And so it's not that you have to be like, I'm never talking to you again.
Yeah.
You don't have to be rude, and because like I said, like it's not their fault. Like they're just not ready for that phase, and they knew you when you were back, and you guys got along obviously because you did like the same things. You attract people who like you give off what you are doing yourself. And so of course you attracted those people. But what's really important in like this time of like learning who you are and transforming your own life and rising above like your past is that you really have to let some people go. And I think the hardest part for us, and especially as like women, I keep on bringing this up, but we just have such a like nurturing, like loving, like sense to us, and we want to help everybody, and we think it's so rude to like get those people out of our lives. And I know for me, like sometimes it was like my family members. Like I had to have my family members out of my life for a little bit. Like my mom, like I when like going through all this stuff when I was changing, like I needed her to be out of my life for a little bit so that I could relearn how to, get along with her after like the years and years of me like holding that against her, like the things she said to me. And now so I had to actually tell her, I'm like, hey, like I can't talk to you right now. And that seems really rude for a lot of us. But really, like we are the like 5 people we hang around. And so if you are like hanging around people that are negative, it's gonna be so easy for you to go back down to where they're at. But like you said, like you've been attracting people who are, doing the same things as you. And it's amazing, like when you're on this journey, like it seems like you have to get rid of some people, but you'll start finding these amazing people in your life. Like even how we met, like how amazing is it like that we got like, and like connected.
Right.
You start actually like attracting those people who are actually on the same path as you and who want to better their lives. So it's a really awesome journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes people too feel like if I let these people go, I'm not going to have anyone.
Yeah.
There's that scarcity, and I mean, that goes along with finances too, because like what we do in one area of our life, we do in every area of our life. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I know we've talked about like investing in yourself, like investing in yourself with the people around you, but also like financially investing in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that because really like you get to invest in yourself. And yes, investing in yourself with, working out and working on yourself and reading and doing all that kind of stuff. But it does come to a point where you also have to like financially invest in yourself. And that's actually where I saw my biggest growth is when I actually spent money on a coach.
Yeah.
And when I paid for my first coach, I was like, how did I just give her $10,000? I was like, what just happened?
Oh, $10,000? Wow.
It was an ongoing process. It was like a
Oh,
year.
okay.
So it wasn't just like overnight thing. No, so like no, but the thing is like it was a ton of money for me. Like
Yeah.
I don't even have that money. But I knew that if I wanted to take my business to the next level, I knew if I wanted to help more women, I needed to know the business side of this, like the whole owning your own company and all that kind of stuff. So I invested in myself with a financial or not financial, a coach, a business coach. But a lot of us need to start off with investing in ourselves with a personal coach, a fitness coach, anything like that, because we are not meant to do life on our own. And I think that's where like a lot of us like struggle is that like when you've gone through painful situations, you had to come out of that on your own most of the time. And you're on your own for so long. And I was on my own for so long. And I remember like people in my life would be like, let me help you. And I'm like, no, I've got this. Like, I don't need help.
Yeah, I've got this, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh no, I don't need help. My like poor boyfriend, like 4 years, and he's like, you were so stubborn. And I was like, I know. Because I was always like, I had this on my own. But when I finally made the switch, I'm like, no, I don't need to do this on my own. I do need to invest in myself and get help. And that's where I saw my biggest change. And so like that started obviously like when I was like, I went through counseling, that kind of stuff. And then coaching and all that, but like really just taking the time and actually like, well, it's crazy because we'll spend, $5-6 on a Starbucks drink.
Yes.
And if we actually held off on that, like for a week or two, that'd probably be like something like $100-200.
Yeah.
That pays for your fitness trainer. That pays for healthy meals. That pays for a book that you've always wanted to read, And so when you actually like look about what you're investing in, you're already investing in yourself in a negative way. Like some Starbucks drinks are better than others, but like you're investing, like if you have the money to spend on Starbucks, if you have the money, like just look at where you're investing and what's important to you now. Because maybe Starbucks in the past is like something you needed to have, but like as you're growing and as you're learning who you are, like it's way more important to invest in a coach. It's way more important to invest in a book than a Starbucks drink. Sorry to disappoint everybody on here.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's great. And I was thinking too about like vacations. I hear a lot of, I recently invested in a leadership program and it totally transformed me. I mean, it just like, wow. And I think about all the money I've spent on vacations, like for a week or 2 weeks. I went to Bali. It was an incredible experience, but I still came back to me and where I was. I mean, it was like I was in a fantasy world and then I came back to reality. Nothing really shifted.
Yeah.
And so
I still need to work. You're like, I still don't know who I am, or like, and now that you invest in like the leadership thing, like it's like, oh no, like I'm becoming who I'm meant to be. And down the road, I will be able to take another trip to Bali. Down the road, you will be able to do that kind of stuff and like enjoy yourself. Like if you're in the phase right now where you're really focusing on who you are and growing your business and growing who you are, like invest in yourself. Like invest, like you don't need to take all those trips. Like, yes, you don't have to work. But like if your choice is like to do a leadership camp or, a trip, like maybe wait until next year to do the trip. Choose the leadership thing. Invest in yourself that way instead of investing in yourself and just traveling and partying. And let's be honest, most of the time, like we spend a lot of our money out going out and drinking. Like, is that a good investment? Maybe once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so how would you say what would you say are like 5 things? I mean, you talked a couple things you said, but I know I've heard you talk about like 5 things that can help you lead you to success, like 5 like things or steps that can lead you to success.
Yeah. So I mentioned it a little bit before, like the 5 people you hang out with.
Yeah.
So important in your success. Like I always want to be in the room where I am the youngest, I'm the like least educated, I'm, whatever it is. Not to make myself feel like little, but to actually make myself like reach for higher goals. So like one of the things I like love to do is like I go to events by myself. And that sounds crazy because like, and especially like people on here who knew me from the past, I used to not even be able to go out to eat by myself. Yeah. And now I go to these like events by myself because like when I go into these events by myself, I actually am like forced to go meet new people. I'm forced to actually be social. Yeah. And I learned so much about myself in those times. And then I put myself in a room where I'm surrounded with really powerful women. And obviously like that rubs off on me. So yeah, surrounding yourself, doing something like new, like I said, trying something new. It's crazy like how much you learn about yourself when you're in a situation that you feel awkward, whatever else like that. Like, I took a dance class. I can't dance. And so one of my things, like I was like, screw it, I'm gonna take a dance class. I felt so extremely awkward, but it helped me so much to just like get out of my comfort zone, realize like it doesn't matter. No one cares how bad I dance, like it's just like realizing like you can get out of your own head sometimes and try something new is really important. And then realizing that like you are enough. Yeah. Wherever you're at, you're enough. Mm-hmm. Someone like once asked me like what is my biggest contribution to the world, and I said me, and it like took me off guard. I'm like, why did I say that? But it was like, no, actually it is me. Yeah. Because like no one else can show up as me. No one else can help women like I help women. And you're like, for you, like, no one can do what you can do. And sometimes I think we like think about like, oh, like everyone loves serving women who've gone through abuse. Oh, everyone loves going to the gym. It's like, no, those are your gifts. Mm-hmm. And no one else is going to bring that to the world. And so when you realize that, like, you show up differently, you're like, oh, okay, no, like, this is actually my job. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it that way as well, it's like, it's selfish not to talk about your gifts. It's selfish not to bring your gifts to the world. Mm-hmm. And so when you, like I said, just like going out there and actually being who you are is so, so important. What else did it? Oh, fitness was obviously like a really big part, and we kind of talked about it on and off. Yeah. But really, like, I believe like fitness is the best way to fight for yourself after a painful life experience. Yeah. Like when you show up for yourself in the gym, whatever workout you like to do, yoga, walking outside, running, whatever kind of exercise you like to do, when you show up, you're saying that you are worth it. You're not giving up. You're not broken, and that you're ready to fight for yourself. So I really believe like it starts with like, that is why my whole program that I have is surrounded by fitness. Like I start with girls like who've gone through abuse and painful life experiences in the gym first. Okay. And they're always like, what about everything else? I'm like, we will get to there. But it's so important to like step in the gym or step wherever exercise you like. So and then just like on the daily, having a routine is just huge. You have to have a plan for your life. Like when you wake up every single day and you're just like rushing out the door for work, when you're rushing home to make food for your kids, and you like don't have a plan for the next day, or you don't even have like something exciting you're looking forward to. Yeah. Like of course that's not going to be fulfilling. And so you have to start having a plan for your life. And so there's amazing books out there that will help you, getting a coach, a life coach or something like that will also help you. But really like having a plan for your life and then having someone to keep you accountable to that plan. Yeah. Because accountability is huge. And I said this before, like, but living life on your own is not necessary anymore. Like you do not need to live life on your own. We're not meant to be alone. And so by telling somebody your plan for your life, or by telling someone like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times this week, hey, I'm going to walk outside 2 times this week. Like for one, saying it out loud makes it feel real.
Yeah.
And for two, it's just like, you have to have someone keep you accountable. So if you don't have someone in your life, like a friend or family member, and to be honest, most of the time, friends and family are too nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do need to hire that coach who can keep you accountable, a fitness trainer, a life coach, anything that will keep you accountable,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to have an off day that leads to an off week, that leads to an off month. And so it's easy to give up on ourselves because it's easy to listen to what other people are saying. And so you just need those people in your life that are actually going to keep you on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think
that's so
more than
true.
that,
Yeah, I mean, it's like not having, not having a schedule, just kind of going with the day. And I mean, you can really lose track of
yeah.
your goals or what you set for yourself. And I think even sometimes when I've set goals for myself and I have a trainer, and I've had a trainer, and he'll say, oh, so did you do this set or whatever, and I'll say, oh, I didn't. And then it's like I felt
Yeah.
so bad. I was like, I didn't want to show up for my session because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he's gonna get mad at me. But then I show up and I was like, hey, this is what happened. He's like, okay, like we get to talk about like what happened, what got in the way, so that next time when you commit, you recommit, and then when you commit,
Yeah.
you'll actually follow through and you'll feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like,
I love that.
hey, you mean I don't have to like hide and not come
Yeah.
back?
Exactly. And really like, and the fact that like, that's why I'm like, we always want to apologize. We're like, I'm so sorry, like something came up. But it's like, no, you don't have to apologize. It's like, hey, I didn't get this done because I was focusing on my kids this week, or I was doing something else. And like, just being like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because, like when it comes down to like, you don't have to like work out every single day, and like you things come up, and like, just to give yourself grace in that. And I love that your trainer said that, because it's so important. I have this client, Brooke, and she was sick. And she came to me one day on our phone call, and she was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't get to do the workouts yesterday. And I was like, I was like, oh, okay, like why? And she's like, I was throwing up. And I was like, oh, I was like, that is completely okay. But that's like an extreme of like how we like feel like we have to be perfect, or we feel like we have to accomplish every single thing every single day. But when we actually slow down and be like, okay, yes, I can push myself. But if something comes up, like life happens, and that's okay. And to give yourself grace is so important.
Yeah, I love it. So, oh gosh, there's so many questions I have for you. This is awesome. I love all of this. Yeah. So how would someone, because you have, I think we're getting close to half an hour. I completely lost track of time because I'm enjoying this so much. But I think we're getting close. Yeah. So how would somebody connect with you? Like, because you have your own group, you have a Facebook group community. I mean, you're building an amazing group. So
yeah, thanks. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, like in my bio, you can click my link. And what I want to just like tell you guys like is that having a community of women is so important while you're, growing and having that community. And so what I do is provide that through my program, Rise Up Academy. And it works on your fitness, but it really focuses on having that community, keeping you accountable, having those journal prompts for you every single week, making you, obviously it's the accountability system. So like making you write out the 5 things you love about yourself, and all that kind of stuff. So I have a 3-month program for these women. And it's one-on-one coaching or group coaching. So you can always find me on Facebook and Instagram. So We Lift to Rise is my company name. And then my program name is Rise Up Academy. So.
Oh, I love it. And then you're also offering a free gift.
Yes, I want to offer you guys a free coaching call. So hop on the phone with me. I don't buy, I just want to see where you're at and how I can support you. Like, I would love to just hop on the phone call and talk about, a little bit about your past, and like, so I can get to know you. And then what I do from there is just figuring out like, what is an awesome plan for you? What's next? How can I support you? And give you those like next steps and keep you accountable to them.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate your help. And I want to say too, like one of the things that's been really powerful is everyone has their own way of movement, but I know that like lifting weights was like huge. Like I felt so powerful when I lifted weights, even if they were 10 pounders.
No, girl, I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I love that you open it up for whatever works for you, because everyone's different.
Yeah, I agree. Because everyone is like starting at a different point, and of course sometimes I try to get people to go into the gym, because eventually like you said, like actually lifting like weights is actually like just a really powerful way to show up for yourself and feel strong again. So I love that you have already tried that and done that yourself.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And we'll be having another episode tomorrow. So this week is all about like health and fitness and finances and like taking care of yourself, investing in yourself. And so feel free to check it out for the rest of the week. Also join our Facebook group. We have a Facebook community, and some of our speakers are actually going on live and sharing all kinds of valuable information and tips. And that's a place where we also get a chance to connect. Also, feel free to message me if you have any questions at info@aloveseed.com, and take today as an opportunity, perhaps write down like 5 things that you're grateful for about yourself, like Alisha shared, and go out for a walk, even if it's for 10 minutes, or try some sort of movement that helps you feel good about yourself. So enjoy your day and blossom with purpose. Bye.